Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Amuls Vision, the live show that we host each and every Wednesday night right here on this page. And we are going to get a fun party started tonight. We're going to talk to you about parenting. We're going to talk to you about fraud. We're going to talk to you about your rights. We're going to talk to you about family court. We're going to talk about child custody. We have lots to talk about, and thank you guys so much for joining us. I am Coach Amul P, your host each and every Wednesday night. Y'all will get a little brief understanding of who I am and what I do, as well as meeting my co-host, Richard Cross, and he is going to be on here. Awesome guy. You guys are going to have lots of insight coming from Voice of Reasoning and Coach Amul P, who gets loud. And if you don't have tough skin, this is not the place to be, I'll tell you that. So before we get started, right? We have to do some disclaimers, guys. So each and every week when we do this live program, I have to make some disclaimers so you guys understand that I am not a barred attorney, nor can I give you any legal opinions. So let's slow down there for a minute. Let's calm down before Coach P goes off tonight. I am not a barred attorney. I can't offer you legal advice, and we don't want you guys to take anything that we say on the show as legal advice. We can't have you guys take as legal opinion. This is an opinion expressly of my own and Richard Cross. So let me get that out of the way. No legal opinion, no legal advice. What we're going to tell you is experiences and what we put together, a show for you guys so we can be here and share and care about your situation and your children. We're not just here for ourselves. We're here to share some knowledge that we have and experience so that way you can better understand the pain of going through family court, which most of y'all already know, right? So let's get that out of the way. We're not going to be giving legal advice tonight, as well as medical advice. Let me talk about this for just a minute. We are going to get the show started in about 9 minutes, and we are going to get live, and it's going to get loud, and we're going to talk about things that y'all want to talk about. Your kids and child custody and family courts. But we are not medical professions. We're not medical professionals. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. This is a live show. Anything happens, anything go. This is just how it is. Somebody could knock at my door. Somebody could knock at Richard's door. We do this live so it's unfiltered. There's no filters on my face. There's not going to be filters anywhere else. We do this for the content that you guys can share so you guys can understand from other people's experience. I have been doing this for over 1.5 years on these lives. I came from the Father's Rights Movement, which is a great resource over there. If you guys need some more information or support, you guys can check out the Father's Rights Movement, right? You guys can check out American Families for Equal Shared Parenting. And if you're representing yourself pro se, y'all can go check out Pro Se Dads. We have lots of resources to show you and help you get to where you need to get to so that way you can withstand the battle of family court. Now, let me continue on a little bit more. Tonight, we're going to have this show, and I'm going to call this show more like the poker face. Because when you're fighting in family court, you're going to have to learn to keep a poker face and how to control your emotions in a situation where I don't even think anybody reasonable should have to control their emotions. They should have the right to be upset. If somebody was kidnapping your child or someone was taking your child, harming your child, this is a time that you would think that other people would be upset. People would be upset around you. Yourself have the right to be upset. But you're going to have to learn to keep a poker face. Listen to me. When I'm telling you this, you're going to have to learn to keep a poker face. And this is how you're going to win this game. This game is tireless. This game is endless. And we're not going to sit here and use the word narcissist. Richard shot me down on that. It's not about that. It's not about narcissist. It's about a behavior pattern from an individual who doesn't see that the child benefits from having a relationship with both parents. A lot of times these people that are taking you to family courts and they're withholding child in the relationship, bro, they just have an ego. They have such an ego that it gets in front of the relationship for the child and the child's well-being and the love. We get it. We know you get it. That's why we're going to be here tonight. We're going to have the show. So, let me slow down. If I get off and go crazy, y'all are more than welcome to drop in the comments and say, Coach, calm down, relax. To get the show started, I need to do a mic check. So please drop where you're from and say hello. Even Richard, if you're in the building, I know you're coming on in just a few minutes. Just drop and say hello. We do this show mainly for you guys to be interactive, for you guys to be live, for you guys to be heard. This platform is not just Amul's platform, it is your platform. This platform belongs to all of the parents that have been affected by parental alienation, family courts, and such not. If you guys have been affected by anything to do with family court, child custody, or an alienator, this is the show. This is the place to be. You can watch it later. If you tuned in late, listen, relax. We post it up for 30 days, and you guys are welcome to watch it. So don't think that you're missing out or you missed a part that you didn't get to. A lot of times throughout the week, a lot of our guests come here and watch the video later, and they talk to other people and other parents. One of the things that we're going to talk about is relationships tonight. Maintaining healthy relationships throughout this battle and how you're going to do it and how you're going to learn to walk away. Hello, Richard. I see you in here. I want to bring you in here just a few minutes. Blake, I see you. I had a great conversation with you today. And I've talked to several fathers this week, mothers this week, parents. I talked to attorneys, clerk of courts, sheriffs, you just name it, politicians. And obviously, if you follow some of my work, I'm helping Stuart Jones out here in South Carolina to get elected in Congress to represent us here in South Carolina. And I'm going to help you, walk you through what you can do in your community. Because if you want change, you're going to have to stand up for everybody else as well. This isn't about just a single situation. This isn't about just you. And Richard's going to come on here and he probably blast me for this a little bit. But listen, I'm going to say this. Your kids are being affected, right? But I'm as a father sick and tired of hearing, I haven't got to see my kids. What I want to hear more is my children haven't had the right to have the emotional connection, to experience the love, to experience the bond, the care, the concern. They have to experience that. And I get where you're coming from. But the narrative is that you're not a good person if you're in family court. It's two people going at each other, and what it is, it's about money, okay? They can say whatever they want. I'm telling you it's about money, because in every single case, you're going to have a financial declaration. There's going to be lawyers. There's going to be mediators. There's going to be guardians. There's going to be so many characters that I call actors that are going to come involved in your children's lives, and they're there for one reason. This is their business. And if you don't believe me, just do your research. The family court in your city is probably growing. The family court in your city probably has a new building. There's probably new judges. There's probably a new lawyer's office. And every billboard going down your interstate either says an attorney or a real estate agent. And that's about it, okay? You know, nothing to do with real estate agents, by the way. Let me throw that in there. I love real estate agents. Y'all do your job. But most of those billboards are going to be owned by attorneys. Whether it's personal injury or whether it's family court, they're going to be taking over. Their signs are the most beautiful. They take up most of the airtime. They make the most money off profiting from high conflict divorces and high conflict custody battles. This is one of the reasons we have the page, for y'all to come here and speak to us. We speak to hundreds of fathers. I speak to thousands of people throughout this year in this Family Court Matters. I don't make a dime off anybody. I don't profit. This page is not monetized. I'm not here for money. I donate my time and my efforts to help you guys understand family law courts, not law, but family courts, as well as the actors involved, and how you can withstand and how you're going to make it through this, okay? So in just about 2 minutes, I'm going to bring Richard Cross in, and he's going to co-host this show with us tonight. So get ready for a ride. Give yourself a round of applause for joining us. If you're joining us and you're from a different city, please drop in your city and state. We thank you for joining us. If you know me personally, I appreciate this highly for you to join us, because this work, it's just not easy. Just imagine what you're going through as a parent, and then having to see thousands of other parents go through it. I'm there as an emotional support for a lot of parents, so I'm there to talk to them 24/7. I will drop what I'm doing. I will take care of whatever I'm doing later, and I will stop for these children and for these families, because that's what I do. This is my passion. I'm not in this for money. I'm in this to be a support system for your children. I care about the children. Richard Cross cares about the children. We want you to survive parental alienation. We want you to survive whether it's a narcissist or, like I'm going to tell you tonight, it's a behavior pattern. I want you, I'm Coach P, I want you to survive this. So a lot of times, and before we get Richard in here, listen, a lot of times a lot of fathers tell me, I'm trying to be the nice guy. I'm trying to do the right thing. Listen to me. If the other parent has ever in the past alienated you, I get it. Forgive them. But you can't forget what they put your child through. And if you're really passionate about your child, you have to stand firm and fair. It's a business. Your child has been forced into this business, and this is time for you to stand on your business and stand up for your rights and your children's rights. So don't give up, don't lose hope, and stand on what you believe in. If you believe that the child is best with you, then listen to me. At all costs, at all times, You can't come off that. You cannot change your opinions and your values based on your feelings. This is the problem in family court. When they see that you're human and you have feelings, they're going to take advantage of you. Okay, so let me bring Richard on before I go crazy and go off, and you guys have to calm me down, all right? So, welcome to the show. Give you guys yourself a round of applause. We're going to have a lot of people coming in tonight, and we will share this later. So let me bring Richard Cross in, and he's going to be my co-host. I will need you guys to let me know if y'all can see me and picture clear in my head, as well as Richard, and if you can hear us. So let me get Richard and bring him in. And I know I go off, but it is what it is, and we have to do this. We have to stay strong, and we got to talk about these topics, because discussing them is the most important thing. So probably went crazy there, but
hey, how's it going, Amul?
Welcome Richard Cross to the show, the live show. How are you, Richard?
Good. Yourself?
You know me, I'm always full of energy, Rich. I call you 24/7, text you, message you all day.
Yeah.
And we have so many fun-filled conversations about actually surviving family court. More than anything, we talk about survival in family court, right?
That's correct. Trying to figure out how you get through family court each day and keep going with your day-to-day while also dealing with the different things you have to throughout the process.
So let me stop you for 1 minute. Can you guys see Richard Cross? Can y'all see Richard? Drop in the comments and let us know if y'all can see Richard, and let us know if you can hear Richard. And I know I'm kind of loud because I'm in a more professional studio, but we'll try to get Richard to speak up a little bit. Richard, we might need you to speak up a little bit just because I've got this loud mic in front of me, which I should push it away. But let's allow some people to get in the room. And welcome, Richard. Tell me about your week. How have you been, and what's been going on?
Week's been good. I haven't done much. It's a work week, so obviously have to work Monday, Tuesday, today. But outside of that, weather's been good. It hasn't been too bad up here in New Hampshire. So yeah, everything's good. How about yourself?
I have had an eventful week, and you've heard it. I've called you, I've emailed you, I've sent you pictures and documents of things that I've entered into the courtroom. And this is what we talked about earlier, that we're going to talk about the support system needed to survive family court and what it really takes. And I said earlier, you got to keep a poker face. So let's kind of touch on that. Let's go right into it. Let's just go straight into it. When I say poker face, could you agree or disagree that I say that you got to keep your emotions in check, even though it is very, very stressful?
You do have to keep your emotions in check. You know, you obviously want to control what your character looks like, and you want to be able to not look like you're completely irrational or completely out of control. But I think your character is very important, you know, and controlling what you say, how you say it, when you say it, and then just you're going to be judged, right? The whole process is they're going to bring you into a courtroom and try to disparage your character. So you have to be prepared for that, and you have to at times be the more rational person if possible.
So I said something earlier. I said kind of along the lines, which I didn't kind of go deep into, but this whole thing is based on us loving our children. This is really what it boils down to, is we all love our children, and we're fighting for this relationship to hold on, to grow. Because just like any plant, we want to water it and give it all the nourishment it needs to grow. Some of the things that alienators do is basically try to wither, to dry the soil, to destroy the character, so that way the plant is dead and it feels unwatered. But I said this earlier, and we talked about this. I think tonight's show, I really want to focus on self-care and understanding that how you're going to make it through it by caring for yourself. What are some of the things that you have done? Because I know that you personally have a long-distance relationship, and it's not being encouraged properly the way it should be. What are some of the things that you do to keep a healthy relationship with your wife and your family as you deal with these psychological battles that I can relate to, because I've been there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what are some of the things that you do to psychologically strengthen your mind and your family throughout the days and the weeks as you are continuing to be pushed back as you try to move forward to a father?
I think I work as best I can to be present and do things with them. even the small things, taking my rotation of taking them to school, picking them up from school, making good of those moments, and then doing other things with them after school, whether it be getting up early with them and taking them to the park and playing baseball with our dog, or when they come home in the afternoon playing football or riding bicycles around the neighborhood. Pretty much, I just try to stay present and active at most times, doing a lot of house renovations, different things. So just stuff. Try to fill my time with stuff. A lot of different stuff, and then when I can, make sure that includes my wife. Not when I can, majority of the time, try to make sure that includes my wife and my two kids. So yeah, I just try to fill the time for the most part. It's about that simple. So.
And so for me, you kind of know that I'm a single man and I live by myself and I basically take care of myself. And we kind of have different lives, but the idea is the same. The same concept of self-care is to nurture these relationships. And I like when you said that you guys have a dog. So I personally would encourage fathers and mothers that are going through court battles, whether it's a fish, whether it's a bird, whether it's a dog,
Yes,
if your children are
some
allergic.
type of
I think
companion.
a relationship with a pet is very valuable and very important. How does that help you personally? Because, I mean, for a parent that's alienated, I know that having a pet does make a difference. There's
Yep.
studies that we'll go out there and we can talk about. But the truth is, an animal in your life, going through a family court where you're separated from children, does help.
Yep. So I have a golden retriever. She's amazing. She's just a what we'll call a backyard dog. She's somewhat trained. She listens part of the time, and we can take her places, and she doesn't run off like a wild one. So, um, she really helps me fill time. When I'm a very early morning person, so I start most of my days around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and she's always willing to get up with me, even if the kids aren't. And the wife definitely never gets up at 6:30 or earlier. So either way, she feels a lot of I don't know what it would be called, but she feels there's a lot that she does for me, um, and more so it's just being a companion. Anytime I want to go do something, she's always willing to go out and ride with me wherever it is, even if it's just going to the store and back. But yeah, she fills a pretty big hole. I think if you could have a pet, like you said, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can bond in some way with taking
Right.
care of and providing care, or it can even provide some love back. So like a dog or a cat can come over, lay with you, cuddle, and show you
Yeah.
love and affection as well. So if you have an animal that can do that, that's obviously very beneficial. So yeah.
And I want to agree with that. And that's why I wanted to mention, if you're asking, why are we talking about animals on a show for family courts? Because the part of you surviving family courts is you having relationships, healthy relationships. Even if you're alone, you can have a pet, you can have an activity or something that you do to keep your mind occupied. Because idle time and idle minds end in bad situations, whether it's thinking bad or negative thoughts. You will end up having them unless you can focus on building yourself and relationships. Why do I say that? Because I'm going to say this: men that have pets or women that have pets, they create this relationship with that pet and they have to, like you said, nurture
Yep.
them, take care of them. And so when you're separated, you feel like you can't take care of your children like you want to, and you're not allowed to be there. I'm telling you how important it is for the fathers and mothers watching tonight to find something, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a pet, whether it's a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a cousin. You have to nurture those relationships because those are what's going to keep you strong. And I said this when we were on
I
the phone,
agree.
I guess the pre-interview. I said, Richard, I love Richard so much because he's articulate, but he also is a family man and he has a wife and she has given him some legs. So he's not just walking and dragging around here, fighting and arguing about his child. He has somebody supporting him. I encourage parents to go find somebody and create friendships, not just try to find somebody to sleep with or try somebody to be with for the night or go out to the bar. Try to find meaningful relationships. When before you met your wife, right, when you were meeting her, what were some of the things that led you up to end up meeting your wife that helps you, because this is a big part of your life now that allows you to be able to fight, because I know that she's a big support system for you. Can you tell me what the things that you did before you got married that led you to that relationship? What were some of the things? Because you know, you're a great guy. She saw that in you. How did she end up seeing the great guy in you? Because that's what it takes to have a good relationship.
I did a lot of growing up. Um, First and foremost, that's really the biggest thing. Growing up, and making myself available to her, and working on not just making sure I understand what I need to do in the relationship in order to make it successful, but also being able to work with her whenever she might need help within the relationship or just in general in life. But I think for the most part, for me, when I first met my wife and we got together, a lot of it was growing up and doing a lot of things differently and trying to build some foundations that I didn't have and wasn't really accustomed to myself growing up. I grew up in a split home. I think my dad's been married for 4 or 5 times. My mom's been married, I think 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times. I don't know. They both have multiple marriages, so they're definitely not the track record I'm looking for. I think in a couple months I'll have a marriage longer than both of theirs. Longest marriage, not their combined marriages. It take me a while to catch up to that one, but either way, I didn't have good support systems and foundations of understanding what a good relationship or what a good parent looked like at all times. So for me, I think when I had my daughter and I was married to her mom for a short period of time, I wasn't and didn't really have a full scope, right, of understanding what it was to be a father or even a married man. I was, I think, 20 years old. You know, I was sneaking buying alcohol at the bowling alley on base, right, of all places, on league night. That's the type of individual I was. I wasn't the most well-rounded person, right? So whenever I met my current wife and we went through dating and we ended up having a son together too, you know, for me, a lot of it was growing up, and I don't know how else to say it, I guess. But yeah, when you're looking for that spouse, I think you should slow down and make sure you understand the pros and cons of being married to that person and starting a family with them and building a financial future, because there's a lot of things that come and play with that, especially when you choose to do it legally and you choose to do it with a third party, being the state. I think anytime you include a third party or you include the state in your business, you should be very cognizant of what you're doing and make sure that you're making the decisions for the right reasons, not for whatever, um, urgent situation you might find yourself in, or what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like that, Cinderella moment. It's not just a fairy tale. It's going to end
Right,
very quickly. So
right.
yeah, just be for me growing up. That's what I did a lot whenever I first got married, and I continue to do that every day. So yeah,
And so, coming from a single man's life, where I'm at, where I have to have relationships and build relationships, I had a friend come over today, and I cooked a little quick meal, some rice and chicken and some beans, and I made a meal for us to
hmm
just enjoy because I don't want to think about what's going on where the other party might be gatekeeping or I feel alienated and it's not just because I have multiple children with, more than one baby's mother. That is in itself. I heard one of my employees actually say something to me about it, and it's like, well, you have so many failed relationships. And I actually stopped her and I said, you know what? I just don't participate in toxic relationships. I know when to walk away. And the behavior pattern, when I see it, I walk away. And
hmm
so for myself to stay healthy and to be able to do these things for these other fathers and mothers and stay active, I have just learned, like you said, maturity is when you grow up and you understand that you have to love yourself before you can love others.
yep,
And so being that of a married man who has made the commitment, I commend you on it because I will eventually make that commitment. But right now, let's just talk about these single men out there. When you're looking for a partner
hmm
and you're thinking, you have to really take into account whether they have children, whether they have prior
yeah,
children, do they have ex-husbands. There's a lot of things that you men and women have to take into account. Do they understand that what family court is about? If you think that you're going to date somebody just because they look good, you're setting yourself up for
yeah,
failure. And if you're in family court, that's not the time to be reckless. It's not the time to to go drink at the bar. And I say this because I want men and women that are watching this show to understand that you can go out in the dating world. If you're not married, you weren't married, you can. But if you want a healthy relationship, this is like a business now that you're going to have to be upfront what you want out of this relationship. Otherwise, you're leading the other person on. You're leading this person on. You're wasting everybody's time. If you have a motive and you would like to be married, that should be your upfront business. You should be, hey, I do want to get married.
Yep.
I do want to eventually have a family. I do want to, you need to think about this. And I'm saying this, Rich, I'm going off on it because if you don't think you could see yourself with that person moving in with that person or that person moving in with you, you guys don't have the space. If y'all are not talking about it, this is 2024. These relationships are a business, and it's a business of your life. Not only your happiness, but it's also of your sadness, of your pain, your emotions. You have to have a partner that is able to handle you, who emotionally understands
I
you
agree.
and can nurture you. So in a marriage, from what I know, is if one person is down, the other person is going to have to be extra strong because
Yep.
that's what keeps that marriage healthy and that's what keeps relationships healthy. And we're going to relate this to the children because for you to have a healthy relationship with children, you got to be healthy. And so we have talked about eating good. We've talked about relationships. And now I want to talk about behavior patterns. So of your ex or the baby mama, baby daddy, whatever it is, you, my friend, probably dated, married, or was with that person. You know their behavior. You shouldn't be surprised and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe she did this. Well, after y'all broke up and
Yeah.
she showed you in
You
family
should
court who
definitely
she
know.
is, the mask is off, correct? The mask is off. The pattern is not going to change.
You probably knew it the whole time, right? But a lot of times those red flags are normal to you, or you haven't learned yet how to identify them, right? Because they should be red flags, but they've been normals in your life. So when you see them, you don't really understand it until you get a little bit older, and then you do start to understand, I guess, at some point, these different behaviors that you're looking for, right, or not looking for in that other person. And I'm a big fan of, you shouldn't be dating somebody if you're not looking for marriage at that point in time, right? And people say, well, you have to date to figure it out. No, you don't. You have to start building a relationship to figure it out and understand, are you just two normal people who can deal with each other every day, coming home to the same house and living under the same roof, and depending upon what dynamic you want in your household out of the relationship. If the wife's home all day, can you deal with her being home all day and the things that come with that? If she's not home all day, and I'm speaking from a man's perspective because that's really all I have, then are you okay with coming home and sharing more responsibilities and picking up around the house if you have kids? Do you guys even want kids? And then other things, where do you want to live? What type of house, or how do you see yourself living? Do you want pets? There's so many things it it seemed almost like a job interview for life questions, but that's what it has to come down to at some point. I think, especially these days, because it is a business contract. I mean, like I said, you're introducing a third party into your relationship once you decide to get married. And in some states, once you decide to just live with somebody for a period of time, it can be considered a relationship such that you have to have a third party in the splitting of your assets from that point on. So, yeah, I think make the right decision by taking your time. Don't rush into anything, and be smart. Essentially, protect yourself and make sure that you're making the right decision for you and your life situation. If you have kids with another woman, or if you have an ex-wife yourself, whatever it may be, you need to account for those things too, because those things have impacted you. They have changed you, and they're definitely going to have an impact on your future relationship, whether it be how you view them, or maybe there's distrust that you have to overcome, or maybe you extend more trust and it was burned. You have to start to build proper and healthy boundaries with the person you're going to form that relationship with, especially if there are kids involved, especially if there's patterns that you've already seen throughout your other relationships that are very unhealthy and are leading you to, the same place consistently. So
let's move this whole conversation into the courtroom of relationships. And I want to talk about this because my advice to you fathers is to stop emailing the other attorney 24/7. Stop emailing the guardian, because I want to say less is best when it comes to family court. They're trying to find out a behavior pattern. Remember, they're going to judge these people based on a couple of hours. These people wearing these robes, to be honest with you, they base a lot of these off of the word discretion and feelings. And those feelings, if they had a couple of cases that were bad and they were annoyed by a guy, just think about it for a minute. That judge may make the wrong decision, and they don't care. And I'm going to say this with all of my understanding and 100% confidence that they don't care about your child. They more or less care that you're going to comply to the demands of this court, and you're going to comply to the rules of their hearing, and you're going to comply to the demands of their ruling. So if you think I'm going to appeal no matter what, that appeal usually goes in a circle. If you think you're going to file a complaint, that's usually going to go in a circle. The problem with this is that there's not really transparency and accountability. In a lot of states, they established these family courts up in the early 70s, 1970s. They didn't care. They had a civil court, they had a family court, and they were packed. I mean, they had a civil court, they had a criminal court, they were packed. They created this family court, and they took what they call jurisdiction. So I see a lot of fathers fighting and saying, oh, you don't have jurisdiction, you lack jurisdiction. Let me tell you, this courtroom has no rules. These courts don't abide by the same laws, and they don't care about the Constitution. We could spend a whole show on this, but Rich, right now, I want to say that with confidence, these people do not care about the Constitution, because the one word I'm going to say this is juvenile or domestic relations. When there's a child involved, they have an excuse that people can't see it because there's children involved. But remember, they're going to close that door and anything can happen. So I'm here to tell these fathers and mothers tonight, you got to be prepared. Not saying that you're going to lose. I am not saying that. Just as a single mother's hoping her child turns into a basketball player, you can't walk in that courtroom and think that you're going to be the victor and you're going to win custody, you're going to win child support, you're going to win everything you want. You have to prepare yourself for the longest battle of your life, which may be a separation from your child for a long period of time. How do you deal with it, and how have you dealt with it, understanding that the child that you have lives so many states away, and how can other fathers relate to this?
You know, it's tough, to say the least. There's nothing easy about going through or having to go through family court.
No.
It's draining emotionally, financially, just in general. It's a time suck. Just how much you could think about it or you could dwell on it. I think the best way that I deal with it, like I said earlier, is just spending time with my two sons and then my wife, and trying to do activities that fill up time and take up time so that I don't have to really dwell on it and think about it for too long of a period. You know, it definitely creeps up at times, and it's always going to be there, because in some cases, whether, you know, there's just hearings coming up and nothing's really happened yet, you're still wondering and trying to contemplate what could happen or what could possibly go wrong. And then once something does happen, if it is negative for you, you know, you go into that place where you do want to fight and you do want to say all the things you want to say, or try to get all the rebuttals that you have out there, right? But in reality, a lot of times you got to slow down, and you have to try to organize your thoughts a little bit and put things together in a way that help you tell the story that you need to tell. You know, courtrooms are all about decorum. They're all about acting, telling a story and presenting your story. And then in family court, maybe there's some factual evidence to back it up. Maybe there's not. It depends, right? We know how that one goes.
So,
but go ahead.
So let me say this. When you're in family court, you can pretty much assure yourself that your haters or your enemies or your opposers are going to be watching you 24/7, because they've made it their life to watch you. So anytime you're doing something, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're out on the streets, just imagine they're looking for a problem, because that's what they're going to get. They're not looking for a solution. They're not looking for something that's going to make this relationship, this co-parenting better. Their ultimate motive is to separate you from the child and say that you're a bad person. So
That's right. They want to argue.
They're not going to want the light on their messages or what they've said or what they've done. What they really want to do is paint you to a bad person. Now, let me throw this as a little God in there. I'm not going to go in religion, Richard, too much, but the thing is if we all were obedient to God, we would forgive, love, and care for the other half of your child. An alienator doesn't care about the other half of their child. They care to own complete ego over you and say that that decision was bad. They're not going to say, I loved your father, I loved your mother was a great person. The problem is the collateral damage of family court is the entire family. Now, in most cases, the best solution would be equal share parenting. It would be 50-50. This
Yeah,
would eliminate a lot of child support issues. This would eliminate the problem with time sharing and not having the relationship. But the problem with this is the courts will encourage for one party to be greater, where if the other parent cared, they would agree with the shared parenting plans. They're not going to, and that's because they're too busy trying to prove a point to the court, to the
correct. They're
to,
trying
to
to write a narrative. They're trying to make a
and
story,
I
and they're trying
said
to
the
convince the
collateral
court to
damage
do something.
the collateral damage is that grandfather, that grandmother. It is the uncle, the aunts, the brothers, the sisters. There's a lot of people. We should be encouraging the relationship between everybody. Had I had a good relationship with my first baby's mama, right? I would encourage them to be a part of my son's life, or I would encourage, right? Today, when I wake up, I think about this, and it shocks me that I spent so much money fighting to be a father. It wasn't that I'm not a loving father. If there's not one parent that's in family court that doesn't love their child. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me that they don't love their child to go through family court. And when they grow up, they want to push that narrative so badly that they want to say, well, that he was the problem or she was the problem. The fact is, we shouldn't even have the children part of this fight. We should be leaving the children out. My advice is to stop bringing the children into the fight. Now you have one parent hating the other parent, and it's not helping the child. I don't hate any one of the women I have a child with. I don't hate them. There's no hate in me. I would love to have a great relationship. But for whatever reason, I'm dragged into this family court. It's because they want to prove a point. They have to prove that they're right and you're wrong. And the child sometimes becomes the weapon of choice because they get to be used as the weapon, the instrument to gain something, whether it's child support, whether it's control, whether it's to stop a phone call, whatever it is. And each situation is different. Every scenario is different. That's why I say this. The family courts will make money for the ever and ever and ever. We're not going to change that. What we're going to change is the understanding that there's a trying, able, willing, fit father or mother that's out there that we should all as a community, all as a city, as a state, as a country be supporting. That's just bottom line. We should be supporting each other.
I agree. And we need to stop using courts to try and just disparage the other party unless there's an actual issue to be taken before the court. I think we make it way too easy for one parent to be able to walk in and just essentially write a hit piece on the other parent, right? And then the court does or doesn't take that as immediate fact and run with it, such that the other parent then has to fight in order to regain any type of access or rights to their child. And then the whole monetization of it through child support. I mean, I'm all for supporting your child and paying money to help support your child. But whenever you say child support goes up or down based upon the percentage somebody has a child, and then there's pre-prescribed things within society that dictate those percentages, like school, or if you're long distance holidays and alternating them and things of that nature,
Right.
you're creating an incentive for them to come into the courtroom, and then you're creating an incentive for them to essentially use their kid as a pawn within the legal system to hurt the other person or take advantage in a particular situation. And it's very easy to do, in my
But
opinion. I think it's done every day in America, just
but
about. So
what I said, Richard, let's talk about collateral damages, right?
yep,
There is two families. There is a half. The child has an identity,
yep,
whether it's the father or the mother, right? When we come to family court, the family court will encourage the animosity because they're all getting paid off it, whether it's an attorney, whether it's a guardian, whether it's a mediator, whether it's a psychologist, whether it's a doctor. We can go into all these different expert witnesses, but the truth is that no one is encouraging for these families to work and together, because the grandmother and the grandfather are opposing sides. I hate to say the word opposing, but they should have a good relationship. This is their grandchild. This is their nephew and nieces. There's a lot of other people that are being taken from the child when you take the one parent family court. It doesn't matter whether it's mom or dad. I'm going to say that with
Yep.
confidence. It doesn't matter whether it's mom or dad.
Well,
Now,
that's
I
where you
spent
get into the whole me enforcing my rights and essentially my rights to have a relationship with my child are
right.
always in the best interest of my child. You know, a lot of courts look negatively upon that when you say I'm trying to enforce my rights, like I'm trying to make sure that I get what is my time to raise my child.
Mhm.
And in reality, that is the best interest of your child, because there's foundational relationships that they get to make, whether it's brothers and sisters on that side, if there are any, even if it's grandparents, aunts, uncles, you know, nieces, nephews. There's many other parts to a family that are built whenever that child's in your care and you're essentially exercising your right to be a parent. It's crazy to say it,
You
but
know,
you know,
you, you know, when we have birthday parties for our kids,
yep,
Richard, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when we have a birthday
go
party for our child, wouldn't it be nice to invite everybody on the opposing party to this birthday party? But the family court and these alienators will make it difficult or impossible. And so that
ahead.
child misses that time, because you know what? You have to take into account whether this person is really coming here to enjoy this time with my child and my family, even whether it's my time or their time. It's all the
Mm-hmm.
child's time. But because the relationship has been rocky, because the trust is gone, neither parent is going to invite the other parent to these events. I have never been invited to a event for my child when he's at the other parent's house, for either, for my first baby mom or second baby mom. It is what it is. But this is things that we should be trying to get back to as a society, to share
Mm-hmm.
these moments, because I don't want the mother of my child to miss a moment just as much as she whether she does or doesn't want me to miss a moment in that child's life, right? In
Yep.
my child's life. But co-parenting is only going to work when everybody's encouraging it. So we started this platform to help encourage people to get back to good mental health, to get back to understanding self-preservation and self-taking care of yourself. Because I'm going to say this with confidence, Richard, I have aged in the last 3 years faster than I've ever aged. And it's because I have to continue to fight just to be a daddy. I shouldn't have to
Yeah.
fight for my right to be a father and then be told you're not good enough. Listen, tell me what I need to do if that's what you think. And if you could say that in court, then there would be an answer. But the truth is, they don't give you an answer because that's the circle of family court. It's about money. It's an $80 billion industry, and they're profiting off of it. I don't want to see the mother of my child lose money, keep going to family court and paying
Mm-hmm.
attorneys. That's a choice that they make. Here I
Yep.
am spending the money as well. Who's losing? I'm just being honest. Who's losing the money is our child, right?
Yep. That is, I mean, it's all resources that could go to
So,
your child, or you could be providing something for your child with. So, yep, it all takes from a child. And to be honest with you, I feel like the system works very much against a child's best interest, um, in a lot of these cases, just with the way that the processes work within the court system. I
now,
feel like it's just meant to take,
now,
essentially, not really take anything away, but loop you into a system that is never ending, and one that can very easily be used against you. It's almost like a tattletale, right? Having
yeah,
Big Brother there at any time just to bring in the third party to try and hold you accountable for whatever you may or may not be doing that day, right? Um, it'd be cool if every day I could have a court to take my wife to, she doesn't do something I like with the kids, or I don't do something she likes, and we could just whip each other into the courtroom real quick and have the other one proven wrong. And then, I lose my parenting for the rest of the day or something. But essentially, I mean, that's what we're doing, right? We're whipping into courtrooms and we're having judges make decisions for children whose lives he doesn't even actually have real insight into. He has no knowledge of, and that has collateral damage across the
yeah.
board. It doesn't matter, you know,
And we're
which
encouraging
party
the
it
destruction,
is.
and we're allowing them to encourage the destruction of one parent. Anybody who
Yeah,
has a right mind can say this with any 100% confidence. Destroying the other parent will
you
never
don't
make them better.
just real quick. I mean, I'm pretty sure my ex-wife has 100% use the order she got under temporary orders to go to my daughter and say, see, look, I told you. I told you he wasn't fit. I told you he didn't care. I told you he didn't want to try. I told you this. And, you know, they use it to support their claims. They use it to back up. And essentially, these kids are taught that the government is that power, right? So now mom, dad is standing there telling you, hey, I told you the other parent didn't this. And they're using the government's orders to essentially back that claim, right, as the kid gets older. And it isn't until the kid gets older and they can really dig into more depth of what was going on in those court filings, not just the order that came out of the court, that they start to realize, hey, this is a lot different than what I thought it was. But at the end of the day, that child takes the most damage in all of this. And then there's a whole collateral of people who don't get to form a relationship with that child that are all a detriment to that child, because a lot of those individuals already have developed and they've already become who they're going to be. Not to say a child couldn't change you as a parent, but a lot of grandparents and things of that nature, for the most part, they're who they're going to be. But that child isn't who they're going to be. And all of those people have the ability to influence who that child could be, right? So the collateral damage is real, and family courts are perpetuating dysfunction
So
that is ripping families apart. So
let's talk about something that we talked about earlier. Let's talk about fraud. Let's talk about fraud in family court. When you see it, we're not going to give you legal advice, but we'll tell you, how do you handle fraud? Now, you have to handle fraud with compassion, care, and understanding. Because when you see fraud, courts are supposed to stop. Now, family court will be the only court that will not stop when they see perjury, when they see fraud, because it's not prosecuted. Unfortunately, it's not. And maybe it has been in some states. Each state is different, but for the most part, perjury is not prosecuted. So when you see this, I'm going to tell you, this is my opinion, okay? You'll need to get the transcripts. You're going to have to learn how to get the transcripts, okay? So you can ask AI, you can ask Google, but you can't stop. You're going to have to get the transcripts so you can hold that person to that word, okay? If you want to impeach a witness, you're going to have
transcripts, I think,
to.
are very important, right? So I'll give you real examples of fraud in my case, right? So I was accused of creating a Snapchat for my daughter. And I definitely didn't create the Snapchat account for her. I actually have screen records or the recordings of her Snapchat account from prior to the date that they say that I sat down and had her create it, right? I talked to her on February 10th, but I have screen recordings from January 27th that show her Snapchat already existing with the number of snaps already sent that couldn't have happened in one night, over 800 or something. So, you know, you take that, and they openly lied in that in court. They boldly came back from recess and asked that question of, did he create the Snapchat for your daughter? Yes. And was Snapchat more dangerous because it was a social media that the messages get deleted? Yes. So now you have to go through that process, right? Well, let's work on a subpoena for Snapchat, and let's ask Snapchat for, hey, when was this account created? Oh, that's funny. It was created way before, in 2022, not even in the year that we were standing there talking about. But basic things like that, they're able to say it. And until you go do something, right, file some kind of request. And in my case, it'll be a subpoena for Snapchat, and then other things that fall under like a request to produce documentation, right? But that's just one of many things. There's other things that they made in their filings. You know, hey, he hadn't talked to the daughter for the last 4 years, made it in multiple filings previously. Yet when they came for the temporary order a year later, all of a sudden it went to 7 years, right? So they nearly doubled the time. But these are little things, right, that they're hard to put back into a story and go back and tell the court in the type of hearings that family court brings before themselves. So, I mean, I know the things that they lied about. I know how to get the information to prove it. And for other fathers out there, you have to look for these patterns. You have to look for the statements that they make in court. Transcripts are a big one. That's a written history from the court. You can't, I mean, you can't question it. It's as gold, right? So in
that's a
there, when
nail in
they
the coffin. Let's just nail in the coffin right there.
exactly,
Okay.
you know, when her lawyer asked, hey, the last time you rented your camper was in February, so you're not making any money off of that, so you shouldn't consider that in child support. Go on Easy RV right now. You can find her 2007 Jamboree camper, you know, for rent right now. It's up there. Go find it. She charges a whopping, it's like $185, goes up to about $600 a night after you get through all the cleaning fees. You know, it's your typical Airbnb
That's
type thing where you get cleaning fees and all that other stuff.
yeah.
But you know, it's kind of crazy. You know, she's not making any income from this. She doesn't rent it out. What am I talking about? I'm crazy, right?
Financial
But
declarations.
you
Look
know,
at them really. Look at the financial declarations and make sure that this is exactly what it is. Now, how are you going to get it? I'm going to give you this tip right now. This is my opinion. It's not legal opinion. You can get a FOIA request. Okay, I don't mind. You
yes,
can get an inbox, and we'll teach you how to get a FOIA request so you can get these informations. FOIA requests are so big. It's the Freedom of Information Act, and you have the right to get production of a lot of documents. A lot of documents. In fact,
yep.
go ahead.
I'd say it's not no legal advice either, but look up your state's discovery laws, right? Within the family court section of the law, typically they have certain things that that you are allowed to gather during discovery of no cost. Like they have to give it to you. Sometimes you have to make the request, some stuff they don't, but look it up and make sure you know how to request that discovery and you know how to gather things, because FOIA is good if you want to prove some type of collusion between, say, government agencies or lawyers and the judge, or communication between
Or
those
even
parties, right?
even fraud. So FOIA
Yep.
requests are really good for finding out if somebody's committing acts that are of misconduct that you can see a pattern of. So you have to do due diligence. The thing is, they wrote a narrative about you, and this is who you are. And the focus is about who you are and how bad you are. Now, they don't even think that they have to cover their tracks, or they might have slipped up and said something or done something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's stop for a minute, Richard. I'm going to say something to the audience, whoever was here. When I started this, I didn't have a fan, I didn't have a follower, I didn't have anything. I ended up becoming, obviously, people knew me. I was on the Father's Rights Movement for over a year before we started this program as well. I went from reaching one person to reaching 35 million fathers and mothers and parents fighting for their children. What did it do for me? It allowed me to get resources. Now I am connected with the sheriffs. I am connected with the clerk of courts. I am connected with politicians in the state. I am connected with senators in 5 different states. I have ended up creating so many good relationships because of this. I stopped looking at all the negative things that I lost. And all of the losses, I said this at one point, if you keep counting your losses, you'll always add up to a negative number. But if you start counting what you do have, and you be grateful for the things that you do have and the relationships you have, you will build and build and build. I don't know how many times media people have contacted me to help me on my own personal case. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
need it. I don't want it. It's okay. I have attorneys that have called me. Hey, listen, I will represent you if you want for free. I will do a pro bono with you. I don't want it because I had done my due diligence to stand up for myself and for my child's rights. And I'm telling you, fathers and you mothers out there, that you must do your due diligence. If you think somebody who's lying is lying in a court, then let me tell you, it is your due diligence to uncover that. Don't expect to pay an attorney to find this out. Don't expect the police to find it out. You're going to have to uncover this fraud. You're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
uncover the lies. You're going to have to expose the lies. And you're going to have to know that you might not be uh, so popular, so loved. But I have learned, Richard, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but now that I reach almost 30 million people with you and the Father's Rights Movement, I have found a place that I'm comfortable, and I'm not trying to get bigger or go down or up or down. I have found a comfortable position in my life that I feel that what we're doing now, advocating through information and understanding that they can be a part of this conversation. It is not illegal for you to talk about your situation as long as you're not disparaging the other parent. You should be able to help another parent out. And if everybody would do that with one person, we're going to have change in the world. I'm working on change in South Carolina. Richard's working on change in Arizona. We are working on change in Florida as well on child support laws. I have been with people like Robert Garza, who got Senate Bill 718 passed for time back for false allegations. We're going to get these things through every state. What we need is support. We need love, and we need people to understand that it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about Richard. It's about these children and their rights to access both parents. That's bottom line.
I agree. I'd say I think it's all important. I think it is important that we work to move Robert's work further. I think it's good in Texas. I still like to see some practical use of it, and I look forward to hearing some of the first cases that come out with it. But yeah, I look forward to helping spread that word and making sure that we help build some kind of support behind it so that it does grab on and we can make these monumental changes in each state. So,
And for me, listen, guys, I'm telling you guys, if y'all want to make a difference in your communities, you can join city council meetings and watch. You can speak up in your cities. You can do these things. Today, yesterday I spoke to two clerk of courts for 2 hours. I had a long conversation with a very high attorney, very high, well-respected attorney. I didn't call these people. I didn't ask for their information. I didn't care if they support me or not. What I learned was being a good advocate, being a good person, and continuing to be honest and say, hey, listen, there was things that I've had in questionable decisions I made in my past, whether it's 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But today I'm here for my child, and I'm here for other people's children. I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about now and talk about tomorrow. So a lot of you fathers and mothers that are defending the past, you don't have to. If you have a final word, you have finality and judgment. If you have something that happened in your past and it was before this temporary order, listen, let it go. You got to focus on now. You got to focus on tomorrow. You got to focus on being a better version of you. And this is the whole thing of our show that we talked about, is that we want to share this love because you're not alone. Richard's not alone. I'm not alone. We're not alone when it comes to fighting in family court. There's millions and millions of people doing it, and you starting places like this, starting at the Father's Rights Movement, creating a relationship will get you further than to cry. And we said this earlier, crying is not going to get you anywhere. Action is going to get you somewhere, okay? Action is going to make some change in this world. Action is going to make some change in your personal situation. If you need somebody to talk to, our inbox is open 24/7. And obviously, Richard, I don't run the entire page, and I don't, there's so many volunteers and people that help us that you can even join our team if you want to. Amul's vision isn't about Amul. It is not. This is just somebody. In fact, somebody else started this page. I'm going to go tell the viewers that there was actually somebody else who started this page. They live in New York, and I'm here now on this show with Richard. So it's somebody who planted the seed, who watered it, and said, "Hey, listen, I want you to be hosting this. I want you to do this," and that's what I did. So if every father and every mother would stand up for what they believe in, loving these children, then I think that we will continue to make change.
I agree. I say, I definitely didn't know how the page started, so that's good to hear a little bit of some history there. But
In fact, a girl, Jessie, started the page for the Father's Rights Movement, and she's supported me for years over at the Father's Rights Movement. She actually started the page. I don't even have a password to this page, to be honest with anybody out here. I don't have access to that page. I definitely know who I can reach out to if there was an issue or concern or they posted something. I think we've already discussed that many times in the back. But there's multiple pages and multiple things going on, including you have human watchdogs, right? So you have created a page, and your advocacy is
correct.
and these things are coming together because not that we did anything other than water it and support each other. Because I would have never known about Richard Cross. I would have never known about Yuma One Watchdogs had it not been for you taking initiative to create a relationship with other people. Whether I was on a platform that has 800,000 followers or reaching 30 million people, you talk to me just like a regular person, and I'm a regular person, so I talk to you, and we created something new. This show was created. It's not even our platform, to be honest. It's the people's platform.
I agree. I would say we're here to help, fathers and mothers going through this situation, grandparents too. I mean, anybody that's really suffering or seeing in front of or dealing with in their life parental alienation. We definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to help share your story, and we want to let you know that you're not alone. We're definitely other people out here are suffering. Other people deal with it each day, and it's as difficult as you think. However, at some point, these issues do ease in the impact that they have on you, and hopefully at some point you get to build a relationship with that individual that was alienated from you. And I hope it's as fruitful as it can be. It definitely won't be the same relationship you could build from a young age, but I hope parents are finding a way back to their kids, and they are building meaningful relationships that help those kids grow into people who are productive and emotionally stable whenever they go out into society and try to partake in life. So
And
it's tough. to see
It's
kids suffer. But
it's amazing what parents, when they are on fire for their children, what they can accomplish. So I want to give a kudos to all the fathers and mothers right now who have stayed strong, who continue to battle in the family court system for their rights to be a parent or spend time with their children. Just listen, our inbox is open, right, Richard? We talked
yep,
about this one day. There's many people that will man that inbox. You guys can reach out to somebody. Somebody will talk to you. If it isn't me, it's okay. You guys are welcome to talk to somebody. Somebody will get in touch with you guys. If you need help, if you need help finding an attorney, whatever it is, I mean, if we can do it for you, listen, we'll do it for you. We'll stop whatever we're doing. We're going to help you. But the thing is, we talked about this, Richard, the crying's got to end. Listen,
yep.
y'all men, y'all women, y'all got to stop crying about spilled milk and spilled water, what happened in this hearing and that hearing. It's gone. It's done. What are you going to do next? That's what I want to say to the viewers tonight. Is what are you going to do next? Are you going to be a better version of you? Or are you going to be a more broken down, beaten version of yourself and that you can't provide for support your child? I have lost countless hours, and me and you talked about this financially, how it affects us. I own a small business, and I have lost a lot of money because I don't have the time to work as much as I used to.
Hmm.
I work at nights a little bit now here and there because when I have my child, I want to spend time with them. So a lot of fathers and mothers can relate that you guys are not alone, that y'all are missing your money, you're missing your time, you're missing your mind and the things that you love most. I'm here as Coach Amul Pete to tell you, we want you to get back to you. We want you to be the loving person that whoever you had a child with fell in love with, because that's who
Yep,
you really are. You are that person that is wanted, loved, and cared for, and you have a beautiful baby. So count your blessings and not your losses, right? I don't
I
mean to go
agree.
off. And I'm just
No,
so passionate about this. It just
no,
strikes me because
it's
I
good.
wish I had a good relationship with anybody that has a child with me and their families, right?
Yep,
But the thing is it's not that possible when you have somebody who continues to try to distance that, right? For one of my baby mothers, her son isn't even my child; it's a half brother to my son, right? I helped that child. He actually is in jail. He ended up in jail. However, he ended up in jail. I don't want to discuss it on the show, but he involved in some kind of shooting incident and things like that. It's not my child, but you know what? That child calls me on a regular basis, and I send him money, and I pray with him, and I love him. He's not my child, but he is my child's half brother. I support him to be a better version of him. Do you get where I'm coming from with this? So even with
yep.
stepchildren, you have the right with half brothers and half sisters to help them have a relationship with their brothers and sisters. Don't be that parent that doesn't encourage it. Don't be that person that doesn't encourage that child to spend time with their half brothers and sisters. Those are still their half brothers and sisters. We should always be pushing that. Like even you have children in
I
your
agree.
situation.
They're
I would
related, regardless. Those kids are related. So there should be a relationship there and there should be some kind of bond there. Maybe it's not the same as an actual full blood brother or sister, sure. But there is a bond to be created there and a relationship to be had. And they are collateral damage to it. That's my sons are probably more affected than I am from an emotionally development standpoint or emotional development standpoint. And I think that hurts me even more to know that they're impacted. It hurts more than just me being impacted, but now I have to deal with their impact and then also try to help them grow a little bit more beyond that and overcome it. So yeah, half siblings, step siblings. I think even when they may not be blood related, even if
right.
it is a step parent, or if they're in that person's life for a long period of time, 10 years, then it's very important that those relationships be fostered and supported as well, just like any other relationship that kid would form with close family. So I agree.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I wanted to mention that I know we're jumping a lot of topics tonight, but we talked about this. This is a well-being show tonight. We're focused on you understanding you can't change the past. You cannot change the past right now. I know a lot of people want to appeal this or appeal that. Listen, just focus on today. Just focus on getting good rest. Just focus on the things that matter, your family that you have now currently. Focus on your children. Understand that family courts make decisions based on their feelings and discretion. It is the actual word. I didn't make this up on this show.
Mhm.
It is your discretion. It is very wide. It is very broad, and they can make and do whatever they want. And
Yep.
unfortunately, the damage is the children that are involved may lose one parent. I don't want them to lose either parent. I have never advocated for anything less than equal shared parenting for as long as I can remember I started this. In my my lifestyle today, there are some cases that I can say that I question whether the shared parenting would ever work. But it's not gonna work
So
until we educate each other, because the courts are only going to educate you to go get an attorney. The courts are only going to educate you to fight harder, to try harder, and you will lose yourself in that battle. I don't want
yep.
you to lose yourself. I actually became stronger, Richard. I became stronger. All of the things that came at me, I've just always been a winner and a go-getter. In fact, it strengthened my relationship with my mother. This case has actually
Hmm.
strengthened my relationship with my older child. I get to take my baby boy to go see him now. It has strengthened the relationship between my father and myself. It has strengthened a lot of relationships. Like I said again, you can't count your losses. In fact, even in your situation, you have a new family. You have a wife who loves you dearly, who supports you. You have children that love you, and you have a whole life. We can't focus on what the loss is. We have to focus on creating an environment where these children can come back to, that's loving, safe, stable, and full of love, full of
And
happiness.
I clarify something. I don't have a new family. I have additional family. I have more family. No, there's
Additional,
nothing new about it, right? And I only have to clarify that, not because of I know you don't intend it that way, but that's the narrative, right? I left and started a new family. And I mean, it's anything but that. It's not like I found somebody, went and moved across country and just started a new family. There were dysfunctions and things that I left before I then found somebody and started at that point a new relationship and
okay,
had kids in that relationship, right? But I don't like that term new family just because they take that
because
as you just up
I
left
get
and
it.
walked away from somebody, and that's not how it happened or what happened. So from my perspective, I just don't like
New
that terminology.
relationship.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll say new relationship. This is good because you got to correct me. I've never been married, so to me, I have always used that word, and I'm glad you corrected me because I don't want to use that wrong language or verbiage in life. And that's some of the things that we talk about even in family court. When you have a friend or a lot of friends that are in family court, you can learn some of the verbiages. For instance, I used a verbiage on one of the documents I submitted today called obvious. Obvious. I had to read it up, and I look on Black's Law, and I go back and forth, and before I use that word, I made sure that it was correct. So before you're submitting documents to the court, you got to think about it. They speak a different verbiage. It's Black's Law.
Hmm.
It's Black's Law. This is how
Yep.
these. If you don't speak the right verbs and the right adjectives and the right vocabulary in family court, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to
I
listen to you.
agree. I agree.
So let's talk about one more thing before. I know it's probably getting late. We probably went over a couple minutes, and we're going to pray like we always do. But one of the things that you guys got to remember, if you're speaking and you want to speak to the judge, right? This is not legal advice. Actually, I got this from the clerk of court. In fact, she sat down with me, had a great conversation. She said, you got to make sure you notify all parties. So you got to communicate with everybody, and that's part of your due diligence if you're representing yourself. You definitely have to talk to everybody and let them know, because the clerk of courts will tell you the process. They might not be able to give you legal advice, but listen, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you to knock on the door and ask questions. You might get turned down and shot down a lot of times, but I tell you what, take 1,000 no's to get one yes, and you'll feel better about your life, because that one yes is what you were really looking for, or that answer. So my
I agree.
advice for the end of don't give up, knock on doors. Richard, give me something to close it out tonight. What else advice do you have for these fathers on this well-being show?
Take care of yourself, stay healthy, make sure you're eating, make sure you stay hydrated, make sure you stay level headed, even when, some people are trying to be irrational and push you to a point to gain nothing but a reaction. Make sure you don't give that reaction. You just
Right.
simply be there to respond when needed. So yeah, just stay healthy, stay happy, and try your best not to dwell on the difficulties you're going through in family court, and understand that there are other people out there dealing with this situation too, and where none of us have the exact same situation, but at a high level, a lot of us are going through the same situation where we're losing rights or access to our child. And because of that, we want to step out and have a voice. And we also want to feel like we need to go do everything we can to shout to the rooftop that this other person's right or wrong, or doing us wrong, and try not to focus on that. Try to focus on the best interest of your child, and showing to the court who you believe you are, so that they respond accordingly, and try to keep a smile on your face, and keep things moving on day to day. Just one foot in front of the other, and make sure that you understand who you are. Don't let them tell you who you are, and yeah, go on, like I said, with a smile, and be proud of who you are, even though you're going through this difficult situation.
So let's do a quick prayer. It's going to be really short. Let's just make a real quick prayer, and we'll just pray for just a minute. You ready? Lord, thank you so much for having us here. Thank you, Lord, for Richard Cross and the Yuma One Watchdogs for protecting children of Yuma, Arizona. Lord, thank you so much for protecting our South Carolina families and all the connections you have made, Lord. Lord, thank you for all the love and blessing that you give us to protect our families. Lord, we pray that you reunite all these alienated children with their families, their parents, and Lord, we just pray that you give them the strength to love and endure what they are going through. Lord, we thank you so much for your love and being here with us tonight. We pray that you continue to love us and give us your love as we would give it to others. Amen.
Amen.
So, Richard, we'll clock out of here.
Have a good one.
Next week, big show with Chris Gray, and we'll talk about that. So I'll clock you out, and we'll see you soon, guys. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. We do this each and every week. I'm sometimes going to be remote, so we appreciate you guys doing what you guys do best, and that's be a part of this. We love your children. We love you, and we pray for peace and comfort. So if there's anything we can do for you, reach out to the inbox. I know I'm not usually available, and I don't man those inboxes, but somebody will get with you. I know this page was started by somebody else, like I told you guys. And we just thank those people that continue to call on people like Richard to come here and be warriors for your children's rights and for you to stay strong. So for now, I'm Amul P, Coach Amul P. You can catch me here, or sometimes I'll be on the Father's Rights Movement, so y'all can go over there. We encourage y'all, if y'all are having a bad night, stressed out about your children, go over there. They have an emotional support line, and we can always direct you. We can always talk to you there as well. So I'm Mul P, Coach Mul P. I will see you guys next week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Until then, we love you. We pray for you. God bless you and your children.